Our next speaker is an authority in matters of sport integrity, and it is my pleasure to introduce him. He's the founder and chairman of the International Center of Sports Security and also the vice chair in the SIGA Council. Please welcome Mohammed Hanzab. You're welcome. First a speech and then we'll talk.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, friends. I'm very pleased to be with you here today. Thank you to SIGA for inviting me. It's a real opportunity to stand in front of you and to speak about sport integrity in Asia. Well, as a founder of the ICSS and chairman of the ICSS, an organization which I founded 12 years ago, based in Qatar, with a global mission, I'm privileged really to talk about my experience whether in Asia or at a global level. Also, as a proud founding member of SIGA and vice chair of SIGA representing civil society. Well, as you all know, Asia is the biggest continent in the planet, stretched from the Middle East to the Far East. And we are not privileged in Asia like in Europe, where you have institutions like the European Union or the Council of Europe. I'm talking about institutional level. So in Asia, we have the Arab Leagues, which covers the 22 Arab countries. I'm just putting the landscape here. The GCC, the Gulf Cooperation countries, 6 countries in the Gulf, and the Far East, so this is really fragmented. So there is no holistic approach, there is no institutional approach like you are having here and you are enjoying here in Europe. So there is a need for, cooperation level between governments in Asia and also sport organizations. In Asia, we have the Asian Olympic Councils, which represent around 46 Olympic committees. And also we have the Asian Football Federation for football, where they have the Champions Leagues and the Asian Cups. As a country, coming from a country which hosting the World Cup, World Cup in 2 months, we did our best really as a small organization, NGO, to bring awareness of sport integrity at continent level, and by inviting SIGA, thanks to SIGA Council and the CEO, my friend Emmanuel, to bring SIGA Asian Forum 2 years before the pandemic in Doha. And that was, for me, is just an awareness exercise, to be honest, to advocate for sport integrity, to put sport integrity at the top of the agenda, whether at a sport organization level or government level. And thanks to that event, in the coming month, we are going to conduct the first advanced sport integrity training program in Qatar for the Transparency Authority in Doha for all the sport organization and the sport ministry. And that's the first time happened. There are some efforts at, it's fragmented really. If I can name country, I can say Australia is at the forefront. Australia there is a legislation in place. There is an agency in place for sport integrity. There is a cooperation between law enforcement and sport organization. And we were lucky at ICSS. We enjoyed this cooperation back in 2013, where we cooperated with the Australian police for a match fixing case, and the players, they were taken to court and they were punished. But as you may know, Asia is, I think it's around, according to our study with the Sorbonne University, the research is around 80% of illegal betting happen in Asia. It's a culture there. They bet also on the weather. They bet on everything. And unfortunately, there is an ad hoc or a small initiative or small programs, but it's not enough. And there is a big need for SIGA, and thanks to SIGA bringing SERV, and also 2 years when SIGA came to Doha, they signed with QSL, Qatar Star League, and I was happy, really, at a personal level, that we at the ISSS, we managed to get this in Qatar, and this Qatar Star League adopting SIGA principle, and they went through SERV. Also, Qatar Airways becoming a founding member of SIGA. So we are trying as a small organization to bring everybody together because it's everybody's responsibility. No one is only responsible for sport integrity. We cannot just blame sport organization or only government. Everybody should play a role in this. So it's casino, small, black market there for betting, and but is betting and match fixing only the problem? It's not. There is no good governance in place. There is no transparency in place there. We tried a modest effort, even I think 6 years ago, to just a pilot for Sport Integrity Index. And to be honest, we couldn't get any information to put in that index. And I encourage SIGA now to go for this and to put at a global level Sport Transparency Index as a tools which will help even sponsor, which will help even sport organization where they make their event according to the ranking and according to each country at a national level, or to host a big events. So in Qatar, really we are doing our utmost. We also been asked to review the first sport integrity charter by Qatar Olympic Committee. So there is modest, I can say, but what's really needed is a holistic approach at a continent level. We need exchange of information. Like now we are, at ISSS, we've been asked by the Council of Europe to develop the handbook for exchange of information about match fixing, and we will launch this soon. So that's unfortunately is not happening in Asia. There is no cooperation at national level or even between, and that organized crime are really cross borders. They use the technology, so they are very difficult. And money laundering also is a big issue in Asia. So that's all what I wish I can, say positive or good news, or you even use real data, which is really lacking. We cannot get data. As a center, if we want to get data or a research, so it's not there. Believe me, you are really lucky in Europe that you have the European Union, which also have funds for sport integrity program. You have the Council of Europe, and these institutions are, playing, and UEFA also, as their agreement with SIGA, and UEFA always at the forefront, of fighting corruption in sport. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I now invite you to sit for a brief moment for quick questions. You were talking about lots of problems that your organization is facing. I invite you to, pardon me, to give us a brief explanation on what the ICSS is actually doing right now. on the field?
Well, in the field, we have set up hotline services, and this hotline now receiving cases every day almost, and mostly from Africa and Asia. And what we do with all this information is really, or these reports, we verify them and we make sure that they are true and they are credible enough, and then we pass it to the agency to deal with it. Also, we are doing an educational program, as I mentioned, in Qatar, first time and we are proud to do that for sport organization and for the official also. That's what we are doing really on the field.
You talked about the hotline. What main issues do you receive? What main questions that people have when they talk to you about that?
Well, match fixing and also the corruption of the official and organization.
Where around the world specifically?
Not in Europe. Mostly in Africa. We receive this in the hotline. Most of the cases comes from Africa.
SIGA and ICSS are from the beginning together. How do they complement each other? Can you tell us?
As you know, ICSS has been founded in 2011, and we have done so many research in sport integrity. The first one with the Sorbonne University, and then we did another with Emmanuel, we did with Harvard University about financial transparency in sport. It was a big program, FITS we call it. And with all these data we have is, complementing SIGA. And so we are hand in hand trying together and with all other members and supporters of SIGA. It's not only one entity, So all our resources really, we are always talking to SIGA and Emmanuel and cooperating in this.
Do you feel that ICSS and SIGA are succeeding in their goals?
So far, yes. To be honest, it's long way. It's not an easy. It's new to the world even. 10 years ago, I remember when I first launched the ICSS, and the first conference was 2011, we were reluctant to put sport integrity as a panel. And even the media at that time, they were not interested. And nobody were, should we put a panel about sport integrity? Is it really, it's like a taboo at that time. Believe me, 2011 I'm talking about. And not many people wanted even to come to the stage to talk about sport integrity. Not to upset organization or not to upset anybody or not to, and maybe the media will not be interested. The media wants in the headlines about Cristiano Ronaldo or about that. They are not interested about corruption in sport. So by just last year, thanks to SIGA and the chairman, Franco Frattini, and Emmanuel and the team, they put SIGA on the G20 agenda. And it was adapted the SIGA principle. That's a big achievement. And if we look at SERFs now and organization joining to do SERF, we are in the right direction.
You focus a lot on corruption and security, right?
Yes.
How is that, the security part? Can you explain us?
Security, for the first time, that's the United Nations Office for Counterterrorism in New York agreed to have guidelines in sports security for major events. And they partner with us as a technical partner, and we have developed these guides, and it's been distributed to 193 members, and it was 70 experts being part of drafting these guides. And we are the advisor for Qatar 22. Also, hopefully soon we'll sign big agreement, at a global level. So even security is also a big issue in sport, as most of you have watched the the Champions League final in Paris. It was delayed 30 minutes. Also, the Champions League, the UEFA Cup in London, in the Wembley. So crowd management now becomes a big issue because of social media, because of so it's a challenging matter. But now we are getting there by having sharing knowledge. International cooperation is now much better than before. I remember in Euro Cup 2016, in the first week, there was a lot of violence, and even UEFA threatened that they may not allow fans to go to the stadium. So we don't really want that to happen, and we try to, what's football without the fans? So we do our utmost to really improve the whole environment, and we try to bring it as more entertainment. I like the American model, to be honest. The American model is for sport, competition is entertainment for the families. If you see the way they organize their big events, people comes to entertain, to enjoy, to be part of the event. I know football is different. I know football culture is different. I know people, so.
How can we change here in Europe to put the American example here in place?
I think, the English, and that's why the English Premier League, one of the reasons the English Premier League, is the top league in the world, is the way they manage the league, and they told us that back in 2012, we hosted a big conference about sports security, and they said we learned from the American, because in the 80s, when the hooligans and the league was really suffered, at that time, they said we send a team to America to study, so they stopped the fans by standing only, the seating, having the fans arrive early, there is a lunch, there is many entertainment around the stadiums. So the English, I think, if you look at their, their experience from the 80s to where they are now, they have really improved the situation.
You have a big challenge at home this year. What are the main issues that are going to be on spotlight?
Well, we are in Qatar privileged as the people of Qatar and the hospitality level, by the Qatar is great, and the people are really, tolerance, and the people who can really have welcome other, culture, and they like football, and the violence is not a big issue in Qatar. It's not in their DNA. So, and it's the first compact World Cup. So there is going to be new things to learn from having all the stadiums close to each other. Of course, crowd management, but I think with the use of technology now in place, and also it's first time I see, and that's because of the need. The international cooperation is much better in the World Cup of Qatar, because they signed almost with every big countries an agreement. There is exchange of information, and also there is the Interpol is there, and everybody's there. So I think it's going to be great event.
Big expectation for Qatar this year. I don't know if someone from the audience wants to ask Mohammed something, or should we? No questions from the audience. Okay, Mohammed, any final remarks before you leave on this event and SIGA?
Well, I would like to congratulate SIGA for making the third edition, and thank them for inviting me, and I'm very happy to see all these signing agreement, and more people joining, more organization joining SIGA. It's really my dream to see SIGA, I hope soon, not a dream, that to see SIGA Asia, and to be based in Qatar. And that's going to be a place where people judge us how we are active in Asia.
We've done a lot, but we have a long walk to do.
Yes.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.